But I think in the session we are meeting.
Yes, yes. What we always try to do is that a member of our community is the person who normally has the conversations with all the folks who come in and address them. So we're very happy that Vaishali is the person who's doing it today, and very nice. Okay, we still have people streaming in, right, Ruchita? So we should wait for a bit.
I think in 2 minutes we should start. We can wait for 2 minutes and then just start.
Prerna, you are in London, right?
Yeah, very much so. And it's a very typical London day. Grey, cold, about to rain. So I'm glad to be at home and not in the office, to be honest.
I am sure. And the numbers, the COVID numbers are looking a little better now. In the middle, we heard that they were spiking up quite a bit.
Yeah, I think we've seen a downturn, but it's too early to say, right? I think we've basically said, let's just go for it and see what happens. And so there are no restrictions anymore. People can go about doing whatever. And I think I read in the news today, they are even removing quarantine for people traveling from Europe and US into the country. So basically, the philosophy is let's just go for it. And
wow.
see.
Okay.
Okay. And you know what? We did see an increase, but it's starting to come down. So it's possible that herd immunity is kicking in, and we're starting to see the value of vaccinations and things like that. But time will tell.
The vaccinations have been very good, right? I mean, the percentage of coverage, etc., has been really good. And I thought that big one sporting day that you all had, that whole football match and everything, I think that day many people would have just gone and sort of exposed themselves, right? So
it's quite funny, actually. After that, we didn't see a much bigger increase. Yeah, it was actually once they removed the restrictions that we started to see an increase. But hospitalizations and death rate is still very low. So I think that's what is giving them confidence that we can keep doing this. I think they're probably going to have a lockdown in autumn again. But at least we get to enjoy the summer or whatever summer we get here, right? So.
Right. Yeah, I hope things get better soon for all of us. We also have our own set of challenges, as I'm sure you're following.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just hoping that things get better.
Okay, I think we can get started.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Arushi Dandrial, an ambassador at Aspire for Her, and I welcome you all to today's webinar, Managing Our Inner Critic, with a highly accomplished guest speaker, Ms. Prerna Goel. Brace yourselves for an illuminating session. But before we begin, I'd like to request the audience to kindly ensure that they have muted themselves for a smooth and undisturbed experience. Now, in the chat box, you'll find the expectation form, which I kindly request you to fill before we start with the session. I'd like to add that if at any point you have any query or question for our speaker, feel free to add it in the chat box, and we'll surely address it. I now welcome our founder, Ms. Madhura Das Gupta, ma'am, to introduce you to you, Aspire for Her.
Thank you so much, Arushi. I just love the fact that we have Prerna here today with all of us, not least because she is one of our newest mentors. And Prerna, a warm welcome to you at Aspire for Her. We'd love to see more of you. This is just the beginning. And Prerna has a very, very interesting background, but I'm not going to steal the thunder because I know that it's a part of her introduction. But I'll talk a little bit about Aspire for Her and how and why we do these sessions. We have these sessions almost weekly, and they look at various areas of a woman's career. We started Aspire for Her last year on Women's Day, as many of you know. Today, we have more than 60,000 members, mentors, and supporters across the community. They are from 60 different countries, not only from India. While we started off trying to solve the India problem, because women in the workforce, in the Indian workforce, were really declining, we realized that our cause resonated across the world. Our communities include women in colleges and schools, women who are returning to work, and I guess a lot of women from that community will be here today. Women who are in banking and technology, women who are not alone, women who've been impacted by COVID and they have lost the primary breadwinners in their lives. And last but not the least, our newest community, entrepreneurial, which is for women who have who are entrepreneurs or are aspiring to be entrepreneurs. So these are the 5 communities that we work with, and we work with a mindset change model. And one of the biggest elements of the model is, if she can see it, she can be it. And that's the reason why we always show stories of successes, stories of professional careers, and stories which will inspire all of you, and also give you an up close and personal view of someone who's had a life which is worth emulating. So with great pleasure, I welcome Prerna once again. And I hope that you will all take away something from this conversation. She is sitting in London right now, as she says, in a typical London day. But the distance between us is nothing really, because we're all in the Zoom room today in this virtual world. So thank you very much, Arushi. Back to you, and warm welcome to Prerna, to Vaishali, who's going to be also running this interview, and to all the members of Aspire for Her who are here today to make this event a success. Thank you.
Thanks, Madhura. And what a great introduction of the Return to Work Network and all the other communities that we have. I'm sure there are many new members today, and they will be more than happy to understand more about us. So with great pleasure, I welcome Prerna Goel. And Prerna Goel is based in London, and she is our guest speaker for today. She's a veteran in the financial services industry and has multiple years of startup and fintech experience. She has been recognized for her contributions to the banking and the payment industries. Not only is she a veteran in the banking industry, but she's also a co-founder of 3 startups, and all very diverse industries. Like she is, the co-founder of Rayvn. She is and Rayvn, what Rayvn does is it's a financial messaging platform. She's also the co-founder of Clinica, which is the first digital eye and face rejuvenation clinic in India. And she's also a co-founder of Vriksh Impact Partners, which focuses on plant-based businesses in India. She was an original member of the leading clearing bank in the UK and helped them build right from the early stage to a scale of 300 people. She's worked in India, Canada, and UK. She also mentors an early stage fintech in India. She is also one of the finalists of the Women in Payments at the 2021 Paytech Awards. She leads the London chapter of She Loves Data, a not-for-profit organization, and in her personal capacity, she is an avid hiker, photographer, and in her free time, she loves spending time with her 2 dogs, Barcasalot and Wagmore. So over to you, Prerna. We look forward to an enchanting session by you, and we promise you that we'll make it as interactive as you would like. Over to you, Prerna.
Thank you so much, Vaishali, and thank you, Madhura, for such a warm welcome and actually giving me an opportunity to be able to share my experience. I think it's a privilege of my life to be able to share what I have experienced, because I strongly believe that, what Madhura said, if you can see it, you can do it. And I actually take it to the next level, which is if you can dream it, you can do it. And I have had I've been honored to have been surrounded by some very strong-minded women. My grandmother, my mom, my sister, they never let the fact that they were women stop them from wanting to do what they wanted to. And so I think, and I think I have inherited that courage, that conviction, and have been surrounded and helped by a lot of different mentors along the way. So mentoring has been a common theme and a common thread in my career, because it's one of those things. If you can learn from somebody who has already experienced it, who has already seen it, it actually fast tracks your learning. It fast tracks your ambitions. So Vaishali asked me to give you a 10-minute overview of kind of my thoughts, my experience. And I was very keen to keep it as conversational as possible, because, I think the real power of these sessions lies in hearing from the kinds of questions and thoughts you guys have. But let me just kind of bring to life a little bit about my experience, about my journey, and a few thoughts I had about what success really means, and how do you think about your own journey in life, and what do you do when you start questioning your goals and your objectives and your dreams. Because believe me, when you have 3 startups, you do that every single day. I do that every single day of, am I good enough to be able to do this? Can I do this? How do I do this? How do I use all the experience that I have and translate it into an industry that I've just started to learn, right? So I think, and let me start at the beginning. So I started my journey in India. I was born in India. I was brought up in India. I spent most of my growing up years in Mumbai, did my undergrad in engineering. So started out very typical Indian career, so to say, right? At that time, you could either be an engineer or a doctor. My sister is a doctor, so I had to be an engineer. That's what used to happen at that time. I think things have changed and moved on a lot in India, which is really exciting, because I remember I actually wanted to be an architect. And I remember having this conversation with my dad. It's like, why would you want to be an architect? No woman has ever been an architect in our family, and we have engineers and doctors and all of that. So anyways, decided to go down the path of doing engineering, and started out my career as a software developer. And I kid you not, I was a really bad software developer. That wasn't the journey I was supposed to be on. So I worked as a software developer for 3 years and realized I actually enjoy understanding how businesses work. I loved working with customers, and I loved solving more general problems rather than specialist coding problems or technical problems. So decided to do my MBA, and that was the first time I made a jump, right? So that was the first time I decided to move away from what I was trained in, and actually what I was conditioned to believe success looked like. Because I remember having, again, a conversation with my dad, and he was like, why would you want to leave being an engineer and go to your MBA, right? And that was the first time I challenged my own beliefs of success doesn't mean I have to be an engineer. Success can be something different. And that was the first time I made the jump. So did my MBA, moved to Canada. So that was the time I left India. Haven't, unfortunately, found my way back to India in a physical way, but continued to find a way to give back to our Indian community in some other ways. Did my MBA, and again, it's quite interesting because I actually followed a very conventional path, because at that time, after MBA, there were 2 options for most people. Either you join investment banking or you join consulting. And lo and behold, I joined investment banking. So I did my 5 years in investment banking. I actually quite enjoyed it. It was a time when there were not very many women in investment banking. So I remember being in a team of 20 men. I was the youngest woman. I was an Indian woman in a predominantly white country. And remember, every time I went to meet customers, I was the only person who looked different, sounded different, talked different from everybody else. And that was quite difficult to navigate, because I think that's the time when you start questioning whether you should be here. Can you achieve the kind of success other people have achieved? But it again boiled down to believing in your own abilities and really trusting your instinct and going with it, right? Trusting your instinct and going with it, and just see where it takes you. And I'll summarize this conversation with kind of 2 graphics which summarize my career and the way I think about success. But I'll take you through the journey and then use those graphics. So after 5 years, I decided I actually did not enjoy being an engineer. I did not enjoy being an investment banker. And I decided that I wanted to move into the retail side of banking. And that was the second time I left behind the training I had, and I left behind what the definition of success would be. I still remember my MD at that time talking to me and saying, why would you want to leave investment banking and go into retail banking? Who does that? And I said, I want to do it because I genuinely don't see myself doing investment banking for the rest of my life. I don't enjoy the environment. I love the work I do, but I don't see this being my life. So at that time, I made a shift into retail banking and joined a credit card company called Capital One. And that was a completely different world for me. I was exposed to the world of marketing, uh, digital operations, risk. You say it, and I was exposed to it. So I was very lucky to have found a role in Capital One, which allowed you to experience a lot of different things in a financial institution. And I took every single opportunity that came my way. So for 5 years, I was a sponge. I came from a very senior role in investment banking, and I was earning twice the amount of money. And I decided to take a step back, and I let go of that money, and I joined Capital One. And the reason for that was I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn how things are done in a bank. So I was a sponge. I took every opportunity that came my way. I said yes to everything, and I just built a very strong understanding of how financial institutions work. And that was one of the best decisions I made in my life. It was hard because I had to really convince myself that it's okay to take a step back. It was hard because I was giving up on a huge amount of financial compensation. But what I learned in those 5 years comes handy in everything I do today, right? It was a big, all of us have egos, and it was a big conversation I had to have with myself to say it's okay to start at the bottom. It's okay to take a step back and build yourself up again, because what you are trying to do is you're trying to learn a new space, you're trying to learn something new, and you're trying to build your skill set. So you have to let go of what success actually looks like, or what success means, and that the definition of success needs to change for you. 6 years ago, I moved to the UK with my husband's job. And actually, I didn't have a job at that time. So I said, you know what? Let's see where it takes me. I'm going to go, and I'm going to take a little bit of a break and see, what UK has to offer. And I dipped into my network. I reached out to everybody I knew in the UK financial services market, and I walked them through my experience. And what resonated with a lot of people is how diverse my experience was. That I was a developer who can understand technology. I had done investment banking, which was, you understand how to value a company, and you've done all of these great roles in Capital One. And within 3 months of landing in UK with no prospects, I landed my first job in a startup in a fintech. And the reason I landed it was because I had allowed myself to experience what I experienced at Capital One, which is, let me just expose myself to everything I can, learn everything I can. Because I could have said at that time, no, I'm a senior person, I want to demand this much of salary, I'm going to do this. And if I had done that, I wouldn't have actually landed a job that actually was the first job I truly enjoyed. So the job I landed after I moved to UK, the first job in a startup bank, it was as if I had found myself. It was as if I finally could use everything I had learned, the skills I had built, the personality I have, the way of working I have was just the right fit for that organization. And it took me a long time, right? So I landed the first job I really started enjoying. I landed that in 2015. And I graduated from my undergrad in 2002. That is 13 years after I had actually graduated that I found the first job that I thought is what I enjoy doing. So it takes a long time. It takes a lot of trying different things, putting yourself out there, and taking really it's not a straight line. It's never a straight line. And you have to let go of those preconceived notions of what you envisioned your future to be. Because when you do that, you actually go with the flow and you open yourselves up to opportunities that you never even imagined you will be exposed to. If I had taken the straight line of being an engineer, I don't think I would today be sitting here and talking about the fact that I have 3 startups and 3 different industries, and that I'm actually the happiest I have ever been in my life as far as career is concerned. And actually, when you're happy in your professional life, you're happy in your personal life, because a lot of us, we associate our identity with what we do and what difference we make in our lives, in our professional lives. So anyways, so the last 5.5, 6 years have been in the world of fintech startups. I got really lucky. And I think, I say I got lucky, but it was also all the chances I took and all the, I parked my ego behind a lot of times in my career. But I got an opportunity to work with a very influential entrepreneur in the UK industry when I joined ClearBank, which was the clearing bank that I was part of building from scratch. I joined that business even before we knew there was a business. And again, I remember having a conversation with my dad. Somehow I'm painting my dad as this evil person. He's not. He's the voice of reason, to be honest. He's the very typical Indian dad who asks you to think about things in a different way. But I remember having a conversation with my dad. My dad is like, why would you want to join a startup? What are you going to do with your life? There's nothing good will ever come out of joining a startup. And I said, you know what? If I don't try it, I will always regret not trying it. I will always question, why didn't I do it? And the rest is history. So joined ClearBank, was part of the core team, got an amazing experience to build a bank from scratch. Again, had to park my ego, because when you join a company like that, you don't have a team. You're not leading anybody. You're doing everything from scratch. You are doing administrative stuff from scratch, right? So, after leading a team of 70 people, to doing even booking your own meetings and all of that, it can be quite humbling as an experience. And it's difficult because you're not used to doing it. But again, you have to really think about parking all of those preconceived notions and saying, actually, it's the experience that I want to experience, and let's see where it takes me. Great, amazing experience for the last 5 years. And then it gave me that confidence, and it gave me that exposure, the network, the mentors, and the support system that I have today to say, I'm now going to take the jump and I'm going to start my own business. And I actually started that in small steps. The first one I did was with my sister. So the Clinica 5, which is a medical practice, is with my sister. So you still feel quite, you're in a cocoon when you do it with your sister, because you can support each other through it. So it wasn't really me taking a big leap of faith at that point in time. The second one was a bit more of a, pushing myself outside my comfort zone. An investment fund, you're investing your own money into other businesses. So you are trying to take a chance on others, which for me was so satisfying, because you can start really you can start seeing that you're starting to give back. It's not all about you as an individual. And the third one, which is the latest one, is going back to my roots of combining my technical background with my banking background, which is Rayvn. And that's really a pure tech play, trying to play with the big leagues and trying to build a proper tech platform. So really, as I look back and I think about, what my journey has been not thinking about success as a straight line. It's about taking chances. It's being open to what comes my way. And a lot of time, what came my way was something I never thought I would do, right? It was three, 4 times I've taken a step back. I put it in quotes because it wasn't a step back, but it was step back from how I thought about success, because we always think about success as a vertical ladder where you're constantly growing into bigger roles, whereas success needs to be thought about what kind of skills, what kind of transferable skills and arsenal am I building, because at some point all of it will come together for you, and at some point all of it will become important for what you're trying to do in life. And the second one is, every single time I have gone on this journey of taking a different route, I have started with, I can't do this. How can I do it? Like, what skills do I have to be able to do it? And I've jumped from that to say, yes, I can do it. Yes, I have support system available. What's the worst that's going to happen if I try doing it? Because it can't be worse than what I'm currently doing. So let me try it. And the moment you get into that mindset of, let me give it a shot, universe has a way of making things happen for you. Because when you start believing in it, everybody else start believing in it, and the universe starts believing in it, and you start taking the risk, and you start going on that journey, and that really gets you to achieve your goals. So I just wanted to share a couple of, kind of bring this to show you two pictures that I actually look at very consistently. I look at these two pictures every time I'm having this internal dialogue or crisis of, should I do this, should I not do this? And these two really put things into perspective for me. So I hope you guys will be able to see my screen. But this is one, this summarizes my career, right? People think success looks like what's on the left, but actually success looks like what's on the right, right? You have to go through lots of different pathways. It's never a straight line. Sorry, I think you can see a lot of my other screens, so apologies for that. Yeah, I think this is better. So, I actually think I've done this every single time I have made a change. I haven't gone from that person who my dad said, you should do engineering, you should go and become a computer software developer. There is a reason that line is very small, because it didn't last for too long. But I think if we can embrace this definition of success, I think we will open ourselves to a lot more success than what we think we will be able to achieve. Because you start really, your definition of success starts changing every step of the way. Having a big title and a lot of money and big team suddenly translates into solving a problem that nobody has ever solved before, or learning a new skill that I never thought I could learn, or entering an industry that I have, bluntly no right to be entering, but well, I'm going to enter, because who is going to tell me that I can't enter something? So I think it's important for us to really embrace this definition of success. And the other picture that I wanted to show you guys is this here, and this is what I wanted to also share. It's an 8-step process that everybody goes through. You start with, oh, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. To I want to do it, but can I really do it? Okay, let me try it. Let me see what happens. And then you start asking questions. Okay, how do I do it? Who should I talk to? Who are my mentors? Who is my support system? What courses do I have to take? What skills do I want to build? Should I build? And the moment you start doing that, you start getting the energy of, yes, I want to do it. Yes, I can do it. And then you say, yes, I will do it. I can do it. And before you know it, you have done it, right? So all of us start at the bottom of that ladder with, I'm not going to do it, to I can't do it, to yes, I did it. So just keep these two. For me, these are two mantras that I live by, and every person goes through it. The key is, remember, success is not a straight line, and remember that everybody goes through these steps in the ladder. But you have to keep going. You have to keep climbing that ladder one step at a time, and you will get to that place if I did it. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to pass it back to Vaishali and others to see what questions you have. But hopefully that gave you a bit of an insight into kind of my journey, and the fact that, it's not easy. None of these things are easy, and you've got to just keep pushing yourself and keep taking a chance. If you don't bet on yourself, nobody else is going to bet on you, and you've got to keep betting on yourself every step of the way.
Thank you so much, Prerna. And I think a journey of 20 years, you've so quickly and easily summarized in 20 minutes. I'm sure it was not that easy, but you made it look as if it was a cakewalk, but it surely wasn't. And I think your risk-taking ability is infectious. And before we move on to the Q&A, I would request all the participants to fill up the community form. I'm sure today there are many new participants who've joined us, and we would like to stay connected with you and update you with all the events that we are doing for various communities. So we request you to please fill up the community form, the link of which will be displayed in the chat box. So ready for the rapid fire round, Prerna?
Let's do it.
Okay, so I think you busted the myth of success that most people have. So I think what you also spoke about in your conversation was about transferable skills. So can you throw some light on how do women who are returning to work or women who are trying to change their line of work, how do they acquire transferable skills or how do they look at their skills?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, right? I think we women especially have a tendency to look at a job profile or a job posting and say, I need to have every single one of these things in the way it's written, in the way it's listed before we apply for that job. I think what we forget is a lot of it is about you actually have the skill, you're just looking at it from a different perspective. So let me take an example, right? So I'll take an example of when I moved into the first job I landed here in the UK, which was in the payment space, which I had never done before. I remember having conversations with the hiring manager at that time, and she said, "You've never worked in payments before. Why should we hire you?" And I could have taken that question as saying, yeah, actually, I've never worked in payments. There's no way I can do this job. Versus what I said was, payments is nothing but transferring information from point A to point B, right? Now, payments just is a technical way of doing that. But if you look at my experience previously, I have worked in industries where you're exchanging information all the time. So I have a very good understanding of what it takes to transfer information from point A to point B. I have done all of these projects that have enabled me to understand how can I improve that transference of information. And I have all of these competencies which will help me very quickly pick up the technical aspects of that role. So I think there is a difference between separating the technical knowledge you have in a particular space from the softer and the competencies that you have in that particular space. So you may not know a particular, I don't know, coding language, but you know how to think logically, but you know how to think analytically, you know how to solve a problem. And transferable skills is all about talking about those competencies and talking about those competencies in the context of the role that is being asked. And saying, yeah, I may not have the technical knowledge, but actually technical knowledge is very easy to pick up because anybody who has all of these competencies can pick up technical knowledge quickly. It's the competencies which are difficult to pick up because competencies take time, energy, experience to build over a period of time. So everybody who has changed a career or has taken a break, when they are doing that, they are always building transferable skills. So if you're taking a break because you have had a kid, you're building transferable skills like nobody else, because taking care of a kid is like running a whole business, right? You have to figure out what the objectives of your day are going to be. You have to think about how you're going to achieve various tasks. You have to manage your time. You have to multitask. You have to really negotiate with a human being that doesn't even know what negotiation is, i.e. a baby. So you are actually building competencies in every activity that you're doing. And I'm taking that just as an example, right? So rather than looking at you're looking at your break as a break, you have to really start thinking about what are the skills, what are the competencies I'm learning during that break. And yes, you may not have the technical skill, but actually there is a very powerful way in which you can position your competencies, which will help you get that interview, get that conversation. That is the first step. And then I know Aspire for Her and other organizations like that are there to help you upskill your technical skills. So, technical skills, in my opinion, are easy to get access to through courses, through all of that kind of stuff. It's the competencies, and actually, believe me, everyone is building competencies every step of the way, no matter what they are doing.
Thank you, Prerna. So that was really eye-opening, and I'm sure a lot of people have this in their minds, but they are not able to verbalize it. Right? Moving on to another question. So we have a community called the Not Alone community. So we endeavor to support as much as we can to this community, and we really empathize with this community because they have been through unexpected situations and not thought about changes in their life. So I'm sure when such things happen to anybody, including us, there is a hit on confidence and the risk-taking capacity of the person goes down. So and they feel confused, they feel lost. So how do you think we and they can pull themselves up, and how they can flourish further in life?
Yeah, and I think it's a really difficult one, and I think for me it goes back to breaking into baby steps, right? It's taking one step at a time, right? So, it is extremely difficult to go from 0 to 100 when you're going through such difficult times. And so I think you really need to break down what you are doing every single day and what you're aspiring to do into really small bite-sized chunks. Because I think when you start breaking it down into smaller chunks, you start seeing small little wins, because it's much easier to get wins in smaller steps than if you're trying to jump from 0 to 100. So if you remember that ladder I showed you, if I were to jump from the bottom of the ladder to the top of the ladder, when I don't have the confidence, when I don't have my risk-taking ability is not where it used to be, it's going to feel very daunting. And actually, the chances that I will not succeed are higher. However, if I were to break it down into, okay, I know I need to get there, but I'm going to break it down into smaller chunks, and I'm going to take small steps that will, over a period of time, build to where I want to get to. So there are two things that happen. One, it starts looking less daunting because you're not trying to go from 0 to 100. And two, you start getting small wins. And actually, once you start getting small wins, you start getting that confidence back, because it's there's nothing more impactful in building confidence than a win, even if it's a small win, right? So if you can do that, I think that will go a long way in terms of organically building your confidence. But that's what you can do yourself. I think there is other things you can do, and I think communities like Aspire for Her are brilliant for that, right? You surround yourself with mentors, you surround yourself with support system, you ask questions. And so actually, whoever has asked this question, kudos to you for actually taking that first step, because actually acknowledging that I want to do this, is that little win. That is a win you have just achieved today for yourself. And just, use that win, use that energy that you get to then take you to that next step. And that next step might be that you attend a particular one-on-one session with somebody. That might be that you take out your CV and you update your CV. So taking those small little steps and looking at each of those steps as a win will, it's like bootstrapping your confidence, right? You are kind of trying to if your car breaks down, you try to ignite it again, right? So you're trying to ignite that confidence and that passion within you again. And you have to go slowly. You have to take one step at a time. There's a lot you can do within yourself, but leaning on your community, leaning on the people in your network, and taking steps like this can go a long way. There's no silver bullet, but it has to happen slowly and over a period of time. Getting a good mentor will go a long way in that.
You know, I had to say something. Vaishali, I'm sorry.
Sure, sure.
This is such
Go
a
ahead.
beautiful answer. This is such a beautiful answer. And Ina Anand, you know, I just want all of us to put a little heart on from the reaction button of the Zoom for Ina here. Because I really like, Prerna, what you said, and Ina has done such a wonderful job of asking this question in this forum. And you know, she just put it on the chat board, but Ina, we are all with you and our hearts are with you. So back to you, Vaishali.
Thank you, Madhura. Moving on to helping more such people who are having different kind of questions. So women take a break for various reasons. It could be maternity, it could be taking care, being a caregiver for a sick parent or somebody closer, or maybe it could be due to illness, it could be anything. So how do you think women can own their break? Because whenever they are asked this question in an interview, the first feeling is that of shame. The first feeling is that how do I answer this? So could you just enlighten us on how we could own our break?
Yeah, I think for me, it goes back to that definition of success and that definition of transferable skills, right? So rather than looking at your break as something wrong, something bad, you need to say, actually, that was my definition of success at that point in time. That's what success meant to me at that point in time. And so this is where I think people equate success to professional vertical ladder, to all of that. I think just it's changing that perspective of saying, actually, success is being able to do what I needed to do at that point in time to live a life that I'm happy about, that I'm proud about. And so taking a break to have a kid is success, because that's what success meant to you at that point in time in your career. Or taking care of somebody who is close to you, who is unwell, that is success, because you don't want to be on your deathbed looking back and saying, I did not take that break because I was going after a job. Because at that point in time, that won't be your definition of your success. At that point in time, your definition of success would be, I wish I had taken that break. I wish I had had the kid. I wish. So I think it's actually changing that narrative in your own head. It's actually owning your narrative and actually be proud of the break you have taken, and actually talking about, yes, I took a break. That was what I needed to do, because that's what success meant to me at that point in time. That's what makes me a better, a more confident, a more skilled individual. Because when I took this break, these are the things I acquired. These are the competencies I built. These are the skills I got exposed to. And I think we need to stop calling this a break, right? I think we need to stop. I actually don't think it's a break. I think any of these activities, unless you are genuinely sitting, absolutely doing nothing out of your own goodwill, I think that's the break. No, very few people do that. So you are taking a break because either you are unwell, or you're taking care of somebody, or you had a kid, whatever that might be. These are not breaks. These are you are dealing with life situations. You are dealing with different twists and turns of life. In my opinion, it's not a break. Because if it was a break, that straight line and that squiggly line would have lots of little disconnects. They're not disconnects. They're all connected. They're all squiggly lines still taking you where you needed to get to. And I think step number one is just owning it, just changing that narrative in your own head, saying it wasn't a break. It was a decision I made to take my life on a different path, because that's what my journey was all about at that point in time. That's what success meant for me at that point in time. And these are the things I have learned through that journey, through that path I have taken. And I think once women start doing that, I'm not saying it's going to be easy negotiating with recruiters and all of that, but until we start owning it, until we start changing that narrative, recruiters are never going to change their narrative. So we have to take that step. And those people on the call who are hiring managers and those who are recruiting, we all have to change our narrative to say, when somebody is applying and they have a break in their CV, it's not a break. It's about understanding, okay, so what path did you take? What did your life journey take you on? Tell me about it. And how does that help you in the role you are applying for? So I think it all starts with changing the narrative, and we all have a role to play in it.
Okay. Coming to a question peculiar to the finance and the banking industry, that's an industry where people rise very fast, be it women or men. But we've seen that most women, when they rise up to the VP level or something, and then when they are given a chance to handle more responsibility or a bigger title, they are not ready for it. Either they give a reason saying that we can't balance work and home, or they will say that I can't travel, or such kind of reasons. So how do you think we can help these women?
I think for me it goes back to that definition of success, surrounding yourself with mentors and people who have done it before, right? It's very difficult to give a generic answer to that question, because it actually depends on what is the reason for you not taking that leap of faith, right? So if it could be because you are not confident in your abilities, it could be because you don't think you have the skills to do it. It could be that you genuinely have a situation in life where the demands of that job are so much that you can't balance the two. So I think you have to look at each situation differently. But I think I going back to the kind of key points for me is really thinking about what is it that job will enable you to do, what success will that result in for you, and then working with a support system, working with mentors, working with communities like this to help navigate that specific situation can go a long way in taking that leap of faith. I also think there is a bit of an imposter syndrome us women have, right? I have imposter. I mean, I may come across as a very confident person sitting here talking about all of these great things. Deep down, guess what I'm going to be doing tonight? I'm going to be looking at that YouTube video and looking at all the things I could have done differently, right? So we all do that. All of us women do that all the time, right? And it's okay. It's okay to do that. Again, I think you need to own your imposter syndrome, because when you acknowledge it, when you say that you have that issue, you can actually do something about it. If you keep being in denial, if you keep ignoring it, that, oh no, actually that's not the problem, you can't do something about it. So I think really just surrounding yourself with people who believe in you, getting mentors, owning your own strengths and weaknesses is very important. It's okay to stand in front of 128 people and say I have imposter syndrome, right? It's okay to do that, because if I can do that, then tomorrow I would want to do something about it. If I can't do that, I'll probably never do anything about it, and I'll let it continue to impact me, in an indirect way. So I think let's all be bold and let's acknowledge our opportunities, and let's focus on working on those, fixing those.
Yeah, this next question is from our audience. So they want to know that when you are not choosing a common profession or an expected profession, generally from the society you will hear questions like, what is this? Why such a, that thing of log kya kahenge? So how do you handle that? Because here is your passion of doing something that nobody else or very few other people have done, and here is a huge audience who says that no, that's not the right thing to do, because they don't have information. So how does that person make a decision?
I think I said it like 3 or 4 times, right? Log kya kahenge? My dad was the log kya kahenge, right? He was like, every step of the way, he was like, why do you want to do this? And I wasn't even going into like something mind blowing, right? It was quite conventional what I was doing. It was slightly less conventional than what he had in mind. I think you got to, it's taken me 40 years to stop listening to what log kya kahenge, right? I don't think there is a very good answer. I genuinely don't have a very good answer, other than, the only critic you need to listen to is what you have inside of you, because that's the only critic that matters. There's no other critic that matters, right? And there's a very good saying which says, you shouldn't take criticism from somebody you're not going to take advice from, right? So if somebody is coming and telling you, ye kyun kar rahe ho, wo kyun kar rahe ho types. Hopefully everybody can understand Hindi on this call. But if somebody is saying, why are you doing this? If you're not going to get advice from them, don't listen to what criticism they have to give. And really the only critic that matters is you. Because you came alone, you're going to go alone. When you're on your deathbed again, the only person you're answerable to is yourself, right? It's your own critic you're going to be answerable to. You're not going to be answerable to those 1,001 uncles and aunties and chachas and chachis who said you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that, right? But it takes time. It's easier said than done. As I said, 40 years it has taken me to get to that level of confidence to say, I actually don't care what other people think about me. The only person I'm going to look in the mirror is me, and the only person I need to answer to is me. So you just have to keep on. It's like training your brain, right? Just like you have to train your body, you have to train your brain. You have to train your brain to every time that thought comes, you have to say, okay, so why am I listening to? Why do I care about what the other person is saying, right? What is, if I'm allowing them to influence my decision, that means I don't believe in my own decision to the extent I should be believing in. Because if I 100% without any conditions believed in what I am actually about to do, what somebody else says will not matter to me, right? So you have to get to your place in your mind about your decisions that you believe it in with so much passion and so much conviction that it doesn't matter when somebody comes and says what to do. But it is a journey. It's a journey. It's a thought process. It's changing your mindset. It's constantly reminding yourself. It's an I remember there used to be a voice in my head which used to keep telling me, oh, you can't do this, you can't do this. And I remember sitting in meetings and reminding myself, is that voice is not a voice I want to listen to. So you have to keep going and keep training your mind to stop listening to your inner voice that is telling you no, or anybody else's voice that is telling you no.
Thank you so much, Prerna. That actually means that you got to be your own therapist to manage that inner critic.
I think so, right? I think the only time even therapy from somebody else works is when you are open to it. And the way you are open to it when you have actually decided that you need to change something about it. So it all starts from within. Everything starts from within. That nobody can force you, can teach you, can give you anything that you don't say, I want, right? And I think and if the biggest takeaway from this session is you got to start with your own thought processes, with your own questioning your own belief system and questioning your own definition of success, questioning your own mindset. I think that is one of the biggest things you can do for yourself. Because the moment you get to that place of believing in your own thoughts, questioning your preconceived notions, as I said, a lot of things start happening because there's a huge amount of power in how you talk about things. Then your body language changes. People start suddenly seeing you differently because they can see you are exuding confidence because you believe in what you're saying. And as I said, if you can believe it, if you can dream it, the universe will conspire to make it happen, right? And it's a great conspiracy to be part of. But it starts with you believing that you can do it, that you have it in you to do it.
Sure. What's the advice that you would like to give to the first time job goers, people who've just graduated, or they have to look for a job, and there are many which will come their way, but they will wait for that perfect job. So what's the advice you would like to give them?
The advice I'll give them is an advice that one of my mentors gave me, and they said, play the long game, right? Play the long game. So don't play the short game. I don't know if anybody of you play, cards or something like that. There's this thing about you may have to give up a few little things in the short term to get what you want in the long term. So, especially when you're starting out your career, there are a few things we think, right? We think we are invincible. We think we are the best thing that happened since sliced bread. And we think we should get every possible job that exists out there. And actually, eventually, yes, that will happen for you. But don't start with that, right? Start with what is that end game? What is that long game I want to play? What is it that I'm trying to achieve in the long term? And then be open to going on the journey that comes on that path. So what that means is you may have to take some short-term decisions of taking a job which may not be your perfect job. Firstly, this concept of perfect job doesn't exist. There's nothing, it's a job, right? Perfection is what you see it to be, right? Whether it's in a partner, whether it's in a job, whether it's in life, right? So this concept of perfect job doesn't exist. It's about what is it that I'm learning from this job and what is it that I'm giving back to this job. I think that's the way people need to start thinking about it and think about what is my long game, what is my end game, and how is this helping me get there? Even if it gets me 10% closer to that end game, it's a step in the right direction. And sometimes it may not even get you 10% closer. It might be something it's just fun to do. Starting off your career is the time you can take risks. Actually, you can take risks anytime in your career, but you don't have family responsibilities. You don't have, all of those things weighing hard on you. So it's possible to take risks. So be a sponge, try different things and see where it takes you, rather than getting fixated on this concept of, this is my perfect job. If I don't get this job, it's the end of the world. I'm not going to try something different. I'm not going to do something different. So I think that this concept of being open, being flexible, being adaptable is the most important at the beginning of your career, if not throughout your career.
Sure. Now I hand over to Arushi to take it further.
Ma'am, I have a question. So we always hear people describe their ideal jobs. Do you believe there is such a thing as an ideal job? And if yes, then how can one secure it?
So I don't think there is an ideal job, right? I think there is a job that currently you think will give you success, right? And actually 10 years down the road, you may look back at that job and say, well, actually that wasn't my ideal job. So I think this concept of ideal job is a very fluid concept. I think you need to think about what is it that I'm trying to achieve right now. So rather than saying I want an ideal job, say what is it that I'm trying to achieve today? What are the success factors that I want that make me motivated to go back to that job, that make me happy? And really, that's what you should be. Those are the ingredients you should be looking for in a job. Because once you find those ingredients in a job, any job can become an ideal job. Because it's not a job that makes it ideal. It's what you learn in that job. And it's the work you do that make it ideal, right? So it's really, again, changing the perspective of saying the job is not ideal. It's what is it that I'm getting out of that job that inspires me, that makes me happy. And you can actually find those things in a lot of different jobs. It may not be in the job you had in mind, but you can actually find those things in a lot of different jobs. And actually, that's what you need to focus on. And that would be my perspective on this.
Wonderfully put. Thank you for answering. Now that our session has come to an end, I hope you all found it just as interesting and informative as I did. We as a community are constantly striving to provide our members with nothing but the best. And for us to do that, your feedback is invaluable. Not only does it help us improve, but also helps us measure our impact. So it's a humble request from our end to fill in the feedback form in the chat box and help us provide you better. I'd also like to add that you all can have an opportunity to get mentorship from Prerna Goel ma'am. So become members for the same.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank you,
listening.
Prerna, for a wonderful session and an insightful session where, we were hearing from somebody who's been there, done that, rather than just academic kind of talk, wherein it's difficult to even relate and imagine. So I think most of us today would be on a soul-searching journey, wherein we are thinking that in whatever job we are today, is it correct? I mean, will we grow if we shift to another function? And I think that kind of hustling is required at various points in our career. So thank you for being that power to hustle us and fill us with energy today. Thank you so much. And now I hand over to Ruchita.
Good evening, everyone. fantastic session. And Prerna, just like your name, I'm sure you've been a motivation and inspiration to everybody out here. And that is precisely the first thing I got when I talked to you, is that you're just going to be so good for everybody. And yes, you talked about all the things very well, whether it is, women, whether it is students, whether it's the younger community. They just don't want to take that first step just because of the fear of rejection. And how will you get rejected if you don't even apply? And that is where we need to keep changing our mindsets. And that is what Aspire for Her is trying across all age groups, across all communities, is breaking that mindset of yours and going ahead. And once you make it strong in your mind, there is nothing that can actually turn it. What you said is absolutely true. You have to look at yourself in the mirror. Why should you care about the others? Whether you do good or you do bad, they're still going to talk. So that is a part, So never look at them, but do what you feel. As COVID has shown us, life is just short, unexpected. You really don't know. And what are you going to do by living for others? First, live for yourself. I totally agree with that. As far as our audience is considered, I know a lot of you must be actually sometimes getting irritated that we keep passing on some forms which we ask everybody to fill. But always remember one thing: we are totally dedicated in our mission and in our vision. And we measure impact very seriously at the end of the week. And if you do not fill this form, we really don't know the impact we are making or how we have changed or even touched your life. And that's all that we want. And that is why this sincere request from our end. As far as Prerna said, in terms of the opportunities, we provide immense opportunities. Please go to Aspire for Her's job board. Look at the amount of jobs. And if you're a woman who's taken a break, please do not hesitate in picking up an internship, or even if it is a change of stream, get back to starting, do some volunteering. And as far as even it's kids and student community who's looking at jobs and internships, there's nothing better than to just start with something that you see right in front of you, rather than waiting that today or tomorrow I'm waiting and somebody will come with their arms open and give me a job. Please get out of that mindset and look at things in reality and make that first step. Besides that, of course, we have another session by LinkedIn, which is coming up very soon. So LinkedIn was really happy with the engagement we had with our return to work women. So we are going to have a continuation of the very same session. And yes, we are looking at lots of opportunities and webinars from JP Morgan Chase. So please stay tuned, because besides career tracks at JP Morgan, there are going to be immense opportunities in various jobs also. These are just few of the things we do at Aspire for Her. The first thing I'm looking at is definitely, I see a lot of mentorships coming for Prerna. Please go ahead and ask for it. Whatever you ask, we'll give it to you outrightly. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ruchita ma'am. Can everyone please turn on your video so we can take a quick snapshot? Okay, I think we're good to end the meeting then.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.